Hello and welcome to another edition of SuperCoach Edge. Well, it's prelim final week and the contest seems to be getting hotter and hotter as we approach the finish line. We hope you came away with a win on the weekend, or at least can make the most of the double chance this coming weekend for those of you in 10-man leagues. As I welcome in my co-host Liam, how goes it?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Did get some good wins, albeit in some secondaries, some consolation cups, or the participation plate, as we like to call it. But wins nonetheless, and I hope everyone else did too, and I hope you did as well, Damon. But speaking of the contest heading up, Damon, glancing over at the overall leaderboard, one of our favourite and most notable guests from a few weeks back in JP has now taken the overall lead with his team, Ray Magoo. Very, very nice to see.
Yes, awesome effort and well done by the great man who has been quietly gunning away at top spot. But we must also tip our caps to Abdul, who we can't forget, who held on for as long as he could, covering for the loss of Hewitt over the past few weeks. But of course was struck down now with no cover after his bench was, I guess they came down with injury. I think Ware was sort of the stand-in cover for Hewitt. But yes, it just looks as though the SuperCoach gods are working against him in this case. Unfortunately, as you well know, Liam, all about the SuperCoach gods and how cruel they can be. But incredible effort to, I guess, hold up the flag and sit in the Iron Throne, as we call it, for as long as he did. So, we just want to congratulate him on his world-class performance across the season. So well done, mate.
Yes, very well done. And speaking of world-class performance, this is something synonymous with our good friends at Manscaped.
Very good, Liam. Yes, Manscaped are the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They're just good poets there. Manscaped recently launched the Ultimate Men's Hygiene Bundle, which is called the Performance Package. Join over 5 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer just for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code EDGE at manscaped.com.
Yes, and as part of that partnership, you, the good folk of the SuperCoach Edge community, will get access to, as we said, 20% off and free shipping with the code EDGE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping when you enter the code at EDGE at manscaped.com. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Not that I've really needed it, but just look good, feel good. And on the weekend, of course, was my Bucks party. And no one saw how smooth I was, but smooth moves on the dance floor and all that sort of stuff.
Yes, very smooth.
And we did play True Go, of course.
True Go, very good.
True Go, for those of you out there who have no idea what it is, YouTube it and join your local club, because I reckon we unearthed quite a bit of talent in our in our group that we went out with. So it was good fun. So thanks for that, Liam.
Very, very good fun. No problem.
So a messy weekend off, I guess, field for us. Let's see how it balled over on field when it comes to SuperCoach on the weekend. So let's find out as we kick it off with the good, the bad, and the ugly. Speaking of kicking it off, I'm kicking it off this week, Liam, just for a bit of a change. Nice of you. Tip of the cap to you. Ended up scoring 2,470. Overall ranking, I am now ranked 3,712th overall. And I thought I had a decent enough week that should have seen me make some decent ground in ranks, but logged on. Only to find that I was trolled by SuperCoach gods, and everything else working against me, because I only rose 26 spots. So
really,
I mean, it's,
wow,
yeah. So it's a move in the right direction. I was looking at my leagues and I'm like, there's a few people that have scored around about the 2,300 mark. But considering that I fell short to yourself, I probably should have used that as a bit of perspective. So yes, only 26 spots, but it's a move in the right direction. So can't be too displeased with that. But moving on to the trade front. As we know, we're both out of trades here. No secret about that. Otherwise, there would have been a guy out of the side, probably two, in the case of Cripps and Short, but we'll get to them shortly as to whether or not they redeem themselves. But on with the good first up, and Josh Dunkley probably gets the good here again. Backing up last week's 130 with a whopping 155 after a 3-game run of bad scores. So tip of the cap, good sir, to you, Joshy Dunkley. But must make honourable mentions to Piggy Oliver, bouncing back with that impressive 152. And my captain, oh yes, the ever-reliable Laird, saving my bacon in this case. Nice little Piggy Oliver reference there. With his 145 after I took the risk of overlooking Clary for the VC in favour of the running man. So thank you, Laird. You very much saved my anus right then and there because I was really worried. I mean, but having said that as well, I should also make mention because as it turned out, Laird actually only slightly eclipsed Oliver come the end of the game because he scored 153. And then, of course, with corrections, for some stupid reason, he lost 8 points. How? As the top scorer of Adelaide, now we kind of had a brief discussion about this on Messenger, but it makes no sense. Like the top scoring player, obviously doing something right, and, quite worthy of the score that he's having. If you needed to reallocate points and take points away from players, surely you take it from players that are like scoring near the bottom. Like I don't know, just really I don't understand it.
It was 7 points is also a considerable number of points in a sense.
Yeah,
like a scaling down of 7 points.
Actually, eight points. You've 8
points.
You've done a champion data and taken off an extra point. But yeah, you're right though, isn't it? It's just strange.
Yeah, seems strange. I don't know.
But probably put them in the bad here, I reckon. Alongside, there's a few names for him here. The Big Oaf, Hodor, Shrek, whatever you want to call him. It was a performance befitting of his overall look. Lazy. Stop holding the door for your opposition ruckman and start walking through that door and start scoring some points, mate. Like, I think he had it was about 32 hitouts or thereabouts. It's almost as if every one of his hitouts went to like the opposition. Like there's no rhyme or reason for it. It's really strange as a ruckman, as we know how easy it is to score points. Just fell short there. So, pull up your socks, Hodor. Moving on to the ugly and bit of a surprise, this one. Logging on and seeing this bloke, Stewart, only scored 48 points, which was his lowest non-injury affected score for the season. So it's just not good enough, especially, during a time where every point counts in finals. And Stuart, I brought you in for your high floor and your ability to, still score well enough despite opposition teams putting attention into you. But the weekend was that exception. But with the Eagles and the Suns to round out the season and a prelim and hopefully grand finals are waiting for my leagues and hopefully other owners out there, you just can't afford to slip up again, mate. So come on, get on with it. Like it was a major surprise. So I'll let him off lightly, I think here. So yeah, we'll see how he butters up on the weekend. But what about yourself, Liam? On to some good news.
Yes, a little, not that great, but some good news. Pretty happy.
Yes.
Pretty happy with my score of 2,480. So I did take the win with 10 points this round. Not only did I get the win, but it was just nice having a half decent score for a week and not stuffing up my captaincy loophole like I did last week. I didn't stuff up the captaincy loophole. I just forgot that I needed 2 emergencies that week. But anyway, moving on. Overall ranking, I was also kind of surprised when I saw my score. I thought, because I'm not obviously ranked as highly as you, I thought, all right, I should get a decent little jump here. Only went up 781 spots.
Wow. Well, that's probably just as surprising as me.
Yeah. So I thought I'd probably get maybe 1,000, 2,000, hopefully. But yeah, only the 781. And so I sit 18,302nd, which I don't think I see much changing there between now and the end of the season. Obviously, as we have said, trades, I have none at all. So nothing, no movement there. But onto the good. The VC on Clary for a big 152 on a Friday night. So he scored that, what was it, 304, which was very nice. Very nice feeling, especially when I decided to just, do a quick sneaky little change from Miller to Oliver with about 2-3 minutes to go. So that felt good. But it was also a bit concerning because he really turned it on sort of in the last quarter.
Yeah.
And sort of the last half, but was not looking good early days. But I knew I had Laird as a backup, so I wasn't too concerned. On to the bad. I'm going to go a bit harsh, and I don't think for his season overall he doesn't deserve this. But Will Brodie's 65 was a season low score for him. So it's I feel a bit bad almost putting him in the bad, but there wasn't that many other issues in the side to include in there. So I had to sort of, unfortunately give it to Will Brodie. And then onto the ugly. Onto the ugly.
Have you got here something special?
Something special.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah. Chris Scott.
Oh, brilliant.
Now, we always refer to him as the coach that shall not be named, but you know what? We're going to name him. It's Chris Scott.
Yes. Oh, that burns my ears just to hear that.
Now, luckily, otherwise this would have ripped into him real bad. Yeah. Teakle came in this round, so I did have cover for Blixarves. And Teakle managed to pump out a respectable score, a 73, that helped cover for Blixarves as a laid out. But, and now this is where my real issue comes in. Chris Scott stated, I think it was the day before, on Friday. They played on the Saturday. They stated on the Friday that there would be some late outs the next day. He foreshadowed the fact that there would be late outs.
Oh, he did. Yes, that's right.
Let's be honest. The league seriously needs to start cracking down on this because he is like the master of late change. Yep. Like, seriously, it's not the first time he's pulled the old switcheroo. And then you have Segler and Blixarves both pulled out at the last minute as managed. So it wasn't an injury. They were managed last minute. Come on. Seriously.
Yeah. It's a complete joke. Like, we talk of Chris Scott, and he's kind of the man who shall not be named. He's almost to the point now where he's kind of like the Candyman, where like if you turn the lights off and you say Candyman 3 times, if you say Chris Scott 3 times in the mirror, Candyman appears, because he is an absolute horror show when it comes to coaching for us super coaches. Absolutely, I'm going to call it vile, like just terrible, absolutely terrible. Like, and you're right. AFL should like crack down on this because he's obviously using it as a strategic move. Like, if you know that players aren't going to come up, if they're not of like full fitness, why name them initially? It's just like, it's so shit. Like, it defeats the whole purpose of like teams submitting their, team sheets on Thursday at, what was it, 6:25 or whatever. Like, it's a mockery. He's making a mockery of the actual process. And the AFL are just sitting back and just turning a blind eye. Classic.
Yeah. I think the issue, well, anyway, I think the issue is more so like if they'd been pulled out for soreness, I'd be like, all right, fair enough. But managed to me just reads poorly because it's like, this is planned almost. It's not, it's not they were a bit sore, but we thought they'd get up, it's, I don't know. Yeah. I haven't heard anything from the press conference. That I've only seen the team sheets and it did say managed for both of them. So anyway, we'll put it there. But anyway, let's move on before this turns into Caro's arrow.
He deserves it though.
He does.
Shoot that poison arrow through his heart. All right, I'll stop. All right, let's move on to the head-to-head. That's not much to talk about here, but no, there is, because you've come back and you've pegged back 10 points, Liam. You're coming back. You don't want to do the maths again as to how many points you need to make up in the last two?
Please do.
All right, as you can. I'll read
the wins and losses. So, Damon, you're on the 14 wins, 7 losses, point differential of 1,077. I've got the 7 wins, 14 losses, and obviously the same point differential, just in the negatives. It's going to be tough for me to get back on the wins.
Well, to an extent, but if you have a look just here, I'm just gonna unveil this. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see this here. I'm just raising up my phone, which has the calculator app on it. So I just did the quick sums, and you have to make up 538.5 points.
Not much
for the rest of the season, 2 weeks. So you can do it. It's kind of raising every week now, but 10 points you've made up. Hey, actually, let's can we do like an over under? So you've got 2 weeks. Can you peg it back below 1,000?
Yeah.
Do you reckon that's achievable?
No, I don't think it's achievable because you've got Stewart.
No. We're pretty close. I'd like to actually, in the episode where we, do the season review, we should go back and have a look at like what the biggest winning margin was, which probably would have been when you had
last
0.
week, I reckon as well. Yeah.
But apart from that, like the average losing margin between both of us would have been pretty close, I reckon.
Yeah. I think you would have had it a few weeks because I had Ridley out, so I was relying on rookies there. Parrish injury probably didn't help. That would have been a big week. Anyway, yeah, it'll be good to review it.
Yeah.
We're good to review it. But let's move on. Let's move on to look at some of the talking points that came out of the weekend, and there's some big ones that have just broken. So let's look at them a little closer in the week that was.
I don't care.
Yes, in the week that was, we keep you up to date on the key talking points of the round.
Yes, and the biggest talking point is no doubt the news that has just broken this afternoon that Patrick Cripps will miss 2 matches, which is the remainder of the SuperCoach season. There is no word as yet as to whether Cup will contest the ban, but we'll keep you updated as news comes to hand across our social channels.
Yes, very unfortunate news for, the majority of the SuperCoach competition that owns him, including both of us, Liam, unfortunately. But the other notable takeaway from the round was the fact that Stewart was, in fact, targeted and struggled with a tag for one of the first times this season, which restricted him to just 48 points. Of course, as I mentioned in my Good, the Bad, the Ugly, it was his season low, discounting his injury-affected game in round 12 when he was concussed.
Very unfortunate timing for those that did trade him in last week. And projecting, yes. I feel so bad for you.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Help with the win.
It did, didn't it? Projecting forward for the remaining 2 rounds, news has emerged that Brodie Grundy has been ruled out for the rest of 2022 with an ankle stress fracture. And there's no doubt that Darcy Cameron owners will be rejoicing with the big man set to continue to handle the bulk of ruck contests alongside Mason Cox for relief.
Yes, but I guess looking even further forward to 2023, it does mean perhaps there is reason to roll with the old Gaundy combo yet again, with Grundy set to be priced around about that $500K mark with a 10% discount, having played just the 6 games this season. And that, of course, is courtesy of our stats man, Empa. So it was something to pencil in, I guess, for early drafts about teams next year.
Yeah.
For those of you who are sort of looking forward already. Never too early to get an early jump on things, Liam? Considering you've probably drafted your entire team by now. Yeah,
it's ready. It's done. I'm ready for season 2023 and season 2024 as well. I thought I'd jump ahead.
I like the enthusiasm. When you got a bit of spare time, might as well.
Exactly. When you're having to focus on SuperCoach every weekend, just focus on future SuperCoach.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yes, but anyway, for those of you with trades, which I'd love to know what that feels like. We're here to live vicariously through you by throwing some of the best moves and options that we would like to do. As we jump into The Price is Right.
My money don't jiggle, jiggle. It falls. I like to see you wiggle, wiggle. For sure. And maybe one of the dribble. Riding in my beer. You really have to see it. 6 feet 2.
In The Price is Right, we run through the top buy, sell, hold, and wait options for this round of SuperCoach. And we chat about the pros, the cons, and who you should be considering trading in or out of your side this week. But let's kick off with the sell options.
Yes, well, as we've been saying over the past few weeks, there are a number of trades one could consider. But at this point in the season, given most have already completed their teams with no massive long-term injuries to thankfully fix, apart from, I guess, when you're talking long-term and there's only two games left, so you could probably say any injury or suspension from here on out is long-term. But attention does turn to luxury trades apart from, of course, the fact that Cripps is now out and we have Hewitt that's been out over the past few weeks as well. But however, the ability to make these luxury trades, we should mention, really comes down to how many trades you have left along with the cash in the bank. But it's, yes, probably at that stage now where a lot of people are in the prelim and playing for the spot in the grand final if you are lucky enough to be in that position. So, yes, think long and hard about using those trades because, as you know, you need those points on field in order to win to qualify for a grand final. So let's move on to the main sell suspects, Liam, and I'll kick off with the first one, which is probably one that's already been dealt with, or people have been holding hope that he's going to actually come back. But Georgie boy Hewitt has virtually been ruled out for the remaining 2 rounds of the season with his back complaint not healing in time. So short and simple, if you have a trade, get him out of your side, I think. You don't want to really have that amount of dollarage on the bench. So yes, maximize that ability to sideways him and bring in someone of primo quality.
Yes.
Who else have we got?
Yes, definitely. To his teammate, Paddy Cripps, the Carlton captain has found himself on the sideline for 2 weeks potentially after hitting Archie of the Lions high. Not ideal at all. As we head into prelim week, if you have a trade, I mean, obviously you're going to have to wait and see what happens just to see but at this stage of the season, even a 1 week injury is a 1 week injury or suspension is actually worth trading around. Personally, if you ask me, with only 2 weeks left. I mean, obviously if you're in a 10-man league and you got the week off, I wouldn't bother. But if you are in if you need to win, you need to do it. And if you do have a trade, best place to use it. Otherwise, fingers crossed, owners have bench cover or DPP swings to try and cover him, which is what I'm going to have to do this week.
Yep, as will I, unfortunately. But I'm thankful now that I kept one of your boys in Hobbs. He could be a saving grace. Him and Owens, good return. The perfect timing, actually, for him. But moving on to Short, that man Short. So to be fair, Jaden Short probably would have been out of most people's sides if we had enough trades to spare. But in prelim week, patience has all but expired for those who do have a trade or two up their sleeve. You know, if you are still in prelims, if you qualify for the grand final, like you said with Cripps, you can probably afford to hold. But having said that, should make mention that Nick Vlosten is likely to miss this weekend after he was subbed out during Richmond's game after copping a Charlie Dixon knee to his ribs. So this can mean that Short is finally swung back to his natural position as Chief Seagull. We can only dream. I mean, he did it, a couple of weeks ago, Dimmer Hardwick, for like a quarter, if that, taking kick-ins and really seduced us and tricked us because then he was swung everywhere around the field except for defence. So if this doesn't happen this weekend, it's never going to happen for the next 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, come on, Dimmer.
Yeah,
come on,
help
Dimmer,
us, please. Don't be like Chris
please.
Scott.
No, don't be Chris Scott. Yeah. And last option, and it's probably a little bit of a left field option, I want to say. It is Jack McRae, and it's sort of on the concept of creating a bit of an antipod here. So for something a little bit sneaky, which is nice to do in prelim week, if your prelim finals opponent owns McRae, you could zig while they zag, as they say, by being a bit contrarian to them, by trading McRae out to a more reliable mid in the likes of Laird. How much is McRae? I mean, you could take a bit of a punt on like a Parrish, Beale, a Mills, even an Angus Brayshaw.
Yep.
Brayshaw as well, but we'll touch on these a bit later. It depends if you're also covering Cripps. It's probably not the best option to go for, but I don't know. You might not have Cripps anymore. But McRae's form has been lackluster for most of the season, and he has scored above 105 in only one of his past 6 games. He is simply not producing. It pains me to say it, and this could be a sneaky way to get a bit of a leg up on your opponent if you don't have to deal with the likes of the player if you don't have to do, Short, Cripps, and Hewitt. Mainly Cripps and Hewitt would probably be the bigger issues. Short, obviously, you can
luxury
just hold.
Totally makes sense. And McRae, like we spoke of it very briefly over the past few weeks, actually, like looking forward, as we both are, to next year, McRae has fallen away. And he might actually be a pod primo come the start of next year because I imagine a lot of people will be jumping off him and I'll be looking elsewhere, I think, at this stage. He's just fallen away and hasn't really kept up his side of the ledger as a primo. Unfortunately, he's just fallen away. But let's move on to the buy category, and these are the guys you could bring in as luxury trades, as we just mentioned. And we'll list the top options we've identified across each position, of course, unless you are replacing the injured likes of Hewitt or Cripps. But let's start in defence, and it is with Aaron Hall as our top defender. He's priced at 474.3k, averaging a 97.9 with a break-even of 53. So the rebounding Roo has picked up where he left off since returning from his most recent injury and, unfortunately, a bout of COVID straight after that. So he's had just a wretched run with luck. Scoring better than his low price at the moment would indicate. So he's doing quite well. With the injury-affected score of 18 now dropping out of his 3-round rotation when it comes to price inflation or deflation, he has bottomed out and he presents as a relative bargain, knowing his scoring ceiling and the fact he is a big pod in, get this, just 3% of teams.
Ooh.
So we shouldn't have to mention, obviously, that he does come with an injury risk. But that aside, he could present as the ace up the sleeve in the remaining 2 weeks of finals. And for his remaining 2 games of the season, he does have a bit of a softish run. I mean, he does granted play for North, so unless he was playing himself, that'll probably be the best option. But in this case, he can't. But North, they face Adelaide, who he scored 153 against earlier this season, and then faces Gold Coast as well. So not too hard a run to end the season. So yes, being a pod and being a primo pod obviously comes with a bit of a high risk, high reward sort of scenario with Hall there.
Yeah, don't mind it. I quite like that. Quite like it. He's got that cheapness to it as well, which makes it easy to trade him in.
Yeah.
Which is always nice at this stage of the season. Moving on to the midfielders, we've got a few options here, obviously with Cripps likely to miss 2 weeks and Hewitt just also likely to miss 2 weeks. So we thought we'd go through a few options here. First up, we've got Darcy Parish, mid-eligible, 560.4k, juicy, averaging 113.2 with a break-even of 95. He is all but bottomed out in price and presents as a nice midfield pod for those looking for a reliable scorer. Barring his injury-affected game of 51 against Carlton, his 3 lower scores read 97, 99 and 109.
Wow.
So you're getting a pretty reliable scorer. He does face Port and Richmond to finish the season. Richmond in the last round, so in SuperCoach grand final. And Richmond also being the team he has his best average against of any opponent.
Wow. Jesus, so, that's almost the cherry on top, isn't it? Just to round out that last game of the grand final of all things as well. What a time. What a time to be alive.
Jumped straight back into it. So I didn't think he'd score that well.
No.
But managed a 120, so not bad from a return game from injury. So definitely one to consider.
And is that off the back of you obviously watched the game on the weekend, I assume?
No, actually, I did not.
Wait,
unfortunately,
was it because of my Bucks? Did that ruin things? I think it did.
No. I
play?
could have watched it. I would have missed the end. No, they played just before it, but I was out. So didn't get to catch it. I was watching scores. I've seen some commentary about it, but yeah.
It was so Merritt. Was he actually tagged? Yes,
Merritt,
he was.
Yeah, Ash went to Merritt.
Yes, interesting. So I wonder, that's obviously going to benefit Parish because he's off the chain. So I wonder if that's going to continue as well to sort of add another sort of tick to the box of nabbing Parish.
Yeah,
I like it.
Definitely interesting.
Very, very, very makes him the top option. Absolutely right there. But other options, we do have Jordan Dawson, who is, of course, that DPP mid defender. He's priced at 556.3k, averaging 109.6 with a break-even of 90 and was priced, believe it or not, at a whopping 626 only 5 weeks ago. But a few games where he copped a tag and close attention has seen him drop to a juicy 556.3k, so even cheaper than that man, Darcy Parish. He does provide that handy DPP, like I mentioned, if you have a swing in defence to really get that extra bang for your buck with that one trade, especially if you've only got the one trade remaining. He does also just sort of another tick in the box of potentially nabbing Dawson. He faces North this weekend, who he scored 134 against in round 15, and then Port Adelaide in that last round of the year, which, of course, as you said there, is the grand final, who he scored 123 against in round 3. So good opponents to face up against to round out the year.
I like that. And shouldn't face North. You don't think North would tag him?
No.
They have a tagger. And then Port Adelaide, I don't think would either, off the top of my head. You're going for Laird if you were there, surely.
Yep.
Surely.
Absolutely.
But anyway, moving on to Callum Mills, another mid option, mid eligible, obviously 572.4K, averaging 117.3 with a break even of 108. And he recaptured some of his early consistent form with scores of 138, 116, 97, 120, and 116 over his past 5 weeks. But I think the question still remains on his scoring ability. So not scoring ability, but his scoring ceiling. Having only scored 120 plus, it sounds weird because just wait for the rest of the sentence. 120 plus in his just 8 of his 20 games. But he's a relative bargain for his price, knowing when he scores big, he could go very big with scores of 167 and 214, being 2 of his largest from this season. And he is the 4th highest scoring mid overall. So it's weird to sort of question his scoring ceiling.
Yeah.
I guess in that context, it's that he does have a high ceiling, but it's just not a consistently high ceiling. And the floor isn't necessarily as high either. It can be quite varied.
Yeah.
So that's the main concern I'd have with him, but I don't think you're going too wrong with Callum Mills. Does face Collingwood, who gives away the most points to opposition inside mids this round, and St Kilda to round out the season.
Very nice. No, I do like him. We've mentioned him a few times over the past few weeks, and for good reason. He's got the scoreline to back it up. But yeah, very good point. Like, I think the fact that he does have those massive scores out of the box, but on the whole, he's not sort of veering. He's veering into captaincy territory, but he's falling short more often than not. I think that's probably the main thing. And he does over the previous probably month prior to the, a month ago, at least a month and a half ago, his scores were tapering a fair bit, which does bring down that consistency side of things. And as you know, with head-to-head league matches, you really want consistent players because you know what you're going to get.
You don't want to bank on. You want to bank on scores rather than hope for a big one.
Yeah, which you could do, but it probably hurt you more often than not. But having said that, a very good option. If you don't want to opt for Parish or Dawson, just quickly before we move on to the chatting about the other areas or targets in other areas of the ground, I would just quickly rank them as Parish, Dawson, Mills. What about yourself? That's a tight one though between Parish and Dawson.
It's a tight one between Parish and Dawson. I would lean I'm agree with you. I lean slightly more to Parish just because of his scoring ability. And sort of, I know they both got favourable. I mean, it's hard to say you've got a favourable fixture when you've got Port and Richmond for Parish, but just the fact that his opponent wise, he likes to play against Richmond. Yep. I'd lean slightly more towards Parish just because he's got that high floor. Dawson, though, has the mid defensive eligibility. So if you're going down to no trades, I'd probably prefer that because you might be able to swing some players around to create some cover. So it's very much a factor in what sort of cover you have as well. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And Mills is probably the clear third option. Yep. But absolutely. Yeah, not a bad pick though. For sure. Let's move on to Rucks, and there's only really one man to speak of here, and he has recaptured his early season form. It is Maxi Gawn. He's priced at 574.3K, averaging a 114.3 with a break-even of 85. And yes, it's that early season form that we really loved, and the reason why we enjoyed starting him, for those of us that did. He's come back with scores of 147, 113, and 136 over the past 3 weeks. And I guess given part of the reason as well, given the poor form of other primos, as we'll say very loosely, in the likes of Witts, Darcy and Cameron, in recent weeks, their performances, just not up to it. In comparison, Gawn, he could provide a nice pod if your finals opponent doesn't own him. So a pod in your, I go in, again, head-to-head matchup as opposed to a pod
as the overall sort of ownership side of things. And he does finish the season facing Carlton and Brisbane. Depending on Pitney, if he comes back for Carlton, he's going to be facing Tom De Koning and probably Jack Silvani, and he should absolutely towel them up. And probably Pitney as well. Like, he's not the best ruckman around the ground. So Gawn should have a relatively nice performance. And Brisbane, as we know, it's kind of hard to score against them with their two-prong setup, which they've been running up until a few weeks ago. I think now it's just McInerney. Fort's no longer there. And even then, it's just, I don't know what it is, if it's the quality of sort of midfielders sharking the ball from opposition ruckmen, really sort of negating their influence, or McInerney is just putting in a nice solid game. I think either way, a bit of a mixed bag there for Gawn, but I think he is one to really have a look at because, like I said, Wits, as an owner of Wits and Darcy, if I had the opportunity to jump on Gawn, I would 100% do it.
Yeah, definitely. I'd definitely be moving Darcy on for Gawn if I could. Not that I have Darcy, so not an issue. But yeah, I agree. Darcy is definitely someone I'd be considering as a sort of the same thing as that sort of antipod. If you could get Gawn in as well, like it has that dual effect. Moving on to the forwards, and it is Isaac Heaney. Burns me saying it. Forward eligible, 512.4K, averaging 100.2 with a break even of 74. And it burns me because it's Isaac Heaney, let's be honest. He has scored a ton in his past 5 games and showing the type of assured form akin to earlier in the season with a 3-round average of 110.3 and a 5-round average of 109.4, and finishes the season facing Collingwood and St Kilda. But just another option to bring in if you don't have him, because he does look to be in a bit of nice form to end the season.
Yes, it hurts me as well because he was actually a cheap option I could have opted for instead of Liam Baker. So it hurts me even more so. But it's funny, just, venturing onto Twitter, Fan Footy, the same thing in their little live chat. A lot of people saying, how is he scoring as well as he is? And off the back of that, they were like, the scoring system needs to be reviewed. Like, as we know, he's kind of one that gets favourable scoring, very much like his teammate Mills at times. Bont, as we know, it's quite storied. But yeah, it's frustrating as a non-owner, but just when you pick him up that he's going to get injured or just have a downer. So yeah, it's hard to read, but for those who own him, you will be happy with his form. That's for sure.
Definitely.
Moving on to, I guess, pod options now. And we do have a couple here. And the first one we have is Adam Sard as the defender there in SuperCoach, 546.3K, averaging a 104.1 with a break-even of 84. And he scored a ton in 9 of his past 11 games and is surprisingly only in 7% of teams. So if you are after a pod, he is a player to consider, no doubt. And his scoring floor receives a bit of a boost after taking a majority of the kick-ins over the past 2 weeks at the very least. So he does face Melbourne, who concede, surprisingly, the most points to running defenders in the competition, and then Collingwood also. So, a bit of a mixed bag, but you could probably almost pencil it in that he will have a semi-decent game against the D's this weekend, just due to that matchup exploitation.
Yes, and another... we'll call him a pod. He sits in 10.2% of teams. So we'll scrape him in.
Yeah, we'll get him in.
To consider is Angus Brayshaw, defender midfield eligible, 543.4K, averaging 100.2 with a break-even of 81. And his 3-game average reads 119.3 and has had 57 and 59% CBAs over the past 2 weeks after having 0 previously across the entire season. While his scoring has been sound enough whilst playing exclusively as a defender over the past 2 weeks, he has scored 123 and 113, which is a truer reflection of his scoring than his average, which obviously reflects his scoring ability mainly as a pure defender. Could also be a super pod option for Cripps, given he is a defensive mid as well, like defender mid. So you can swing him around if you do get an injury, God forbid.
Very nice. Well, there's a few options there. Yes, exactly. If we had trades, we'd be spoiled for choice. But for those of you out there that do, we're going to live vicariously through you. So enjoy smashing the trigger on those last remaining trades that you do have, and all the very best for your choices there. But hopefully we've made it a little bit easier for you. But now, Liam, I hear a bit of a, I don't know, bell in the distance. I don't know, what would they use back in the day on ships? Wouldn't be a siren, would it? They don't have sirens back then. It would have been a bell.
Or a drum. I feel like you'd
a drum.
Bang
or
a drum.
Like a conch.
A horn. Yeah.
Like a horn.
Horn. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And the ships that we are referring to are, of course, the ones that are manned by the pirates.
Yes,
and the pirates out there plundering other ships and jumping aboard and having a real hot go with Swordface and the rest. I wish I could jump aboard someone else's ship and steal their trades. Arr.
Arr.
But Liam, there's mutiny because I hear you say,
Arr, I'm the captain now.
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
Very good. You've been practicing. I feel like
I've been practicing my pirate accent. Is pirate accent even is it an accent, a voice?
Yeah.
Pirate impersonation?
Impersonation, yeah. Because last week it was very much SpongeBob SquarePants, as we know.
It was a bit, it was a bit nicer. I wanted to be like a nice captain.
Anyway, let's move on to the captain. I'm the captain now. So we've scrounged through the data and found the best options for your VC and C this weekend. And we kick it off with a favourite here at SuperCoach Edge, one of my favourites, your favourite as well, Em. And it is Jack Steele, who faces Brisbane on Friday at 7:50 p.m. And he's averaged 119.5 over his last 4 against the Lions, with scores of 149, 167, 74 and 88. So it's almost a tale of two halves there, with two scores that were pretty decent. Very, very much captaincy scores, other ones which are pretty shit. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, you could probably put the VC on him first up, potentially. Yeah. But there are better options, I reckon. Even though as much as I love Steele. But, yeah, it's going to be a tough matchup as well against Brisbane.
Yeah. No, I agree. I would be looking elsewhere, I think. In that same game, moving on, we've got Lachie Neale on the other side of the ledger, averaging 97.75 in his last 4 games against the Saints, with scores of 123, 118, 72 and 78. Again, I think he's listed here more so just as an easy VC option, obviously playing on the Friday night. But again, just there's better options. And what upsets me is that there's 2 really good options that play at the same time, but in different games. But we'll touch on them shortly.
Yes, indeed. And I guess one man who's been in super form was in my good yet again, and it is in the same team as Bont, Josh Dunkley. So he's averaged 135.75 in his last 4 games against the Giants, with scores of 114, 132, 128 and 169. So, of course, his recent scores in the last 2 weeks have been 130 and 155. So he's in a really nice hot run of form. So if you wanted to sort of, and I reckon he'd be a pod as well, very much so, because there is, I won't delve too much into him, but sort of as a bit of a segue, there is another guy playing in a game at the same time that is probably juicier, just because he's been the mainstay of captaincy choices and VC choices as well. And it is Liam.
Rory. What would you call him? Squarehead Laird.
Rory Square Laird.
Is that what you called him? I can't remember now.
Blockhead, that was it, sorry.
Rory Blockhead Laird. That feels real mean. But anyway, up against North on Saturday at 2:10 p.m. He's got an average of 125.75 in his last 4 games against the Roos, with scores of 156, 105, 149 and 93. And that 156 came earlier in the year. Yeah. And just wait, it's got a 3-round average of 143 and a 5-round average of 141.6. Lock and load, I'm going to say.
Wow.
I love dunks, but you can't look past lead.
No. Sorry, Dunks. Sorry, mate. It's not going to happen. I appreciate, that's why he was partly in my good, because, well, he might have another good weekend, good old Dunks, but you've kind of done your job. As long as he can keep scoring well enough, that's good enough for me, because you can't look anywhere else apart from Rory Laird.
Yeah.
And we spoke about earlier in terms of like potentially not starting McRae next year. Rory Laird is well and truly putting his name up in lights as like, pick me first up, number one pick when you're constructing your sides come the preseason of next year. So just ripping SuperCoach player. Another good player, but albeit one that did let me down as the VC on the weekend, is Took the running man Miller. He faces a bit of a tough matchup against Geelong on Saturday at 4:35 p.m. and he's averaged a 95.5 in his last 4 games against the Cats with scores of 133, 81, 101 and 67. So he's been in relatively good form. I mean, probably a high floor more so than anything that's really going to give you a bit of a safety net. But yeah, I mean, he's probably one to think about. I mean, you've got to lock Rory Laird in as the VC, no doubt about it. So you'd probably say North Melbourne, Adelaide's game should be done and dusted by the time that the Suns game starts. So fingers crossed nothing. I guess fingers crossed things go to plan when it comes to Rory Laird and he busts out a massive score. But on the off chance he doesn't or you're not satisfied with it, you could potentially put the C on Tookie Miller. But
yeah. If the game's not done, it'd be all you'd pretty much know where Laird's going to end up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you know roughly where he's going to be. So that's helpful there. That's helpful there. Yep. Moving on, and there's a fair few players in this game we want to chat about. It's Clary Oliver against Melbourne. Playing against Carlton. Obviously plays for Melbourne on Saturday at 7:25 p.m. and he's averaging 128.25 in his last 4 games against the Blues with scores of 140, 127, 158 and 88. So nice little bit of form against the Blues.
Yeah, he matches up well against us and probably doesn't help the Cripps if his suspension is upheld, if Carlton do contest it. He's going to be going up against a depleted engine room. I mean, obviously without the likes of Hewitt there already, but then take away Cripps. And the top liner we've got there is Walshy, and that's it. Chera as his backup. So it's going to be really, really hard for Carlton's midfield to really have any sort of dominance against the D's. So I think, I won't go into who I'm thinking, but Oliver, he's up there, I think, in terms of, out and out captaincy options. But yes, as you mentioned, also in the same game, we do have Sam Doherty averaging a 119.75 in his last 3 against the D's with scores of 120, 93, 124. Sorry, he's passed 4 against the D, should say. 120, 93, 124, and 142. So, Melbourne give away the second most points to general defenders, as mentioned earlier. So, yeah, he's one to sort of put on as a bit of a pod if you want to go down that route, because by all reports he should be in for a really nice game.
Yes, most certainly. And just again, let's flip back over to the other side of the ledger here. We've got Maxi Gawn, who's got an average of 133.25 in his last 4 against the Blues, with scores of 117, 184, 121, and 111. So obviously boosted up by that big 184. The other scores aren't really necessarily captaincy worthy, but also consider that his last 3 scores for this season read 147, 114, and 136.
Yeah. Yep. Good form historically. Good form in recent times. It's good. Bodes well.
Bodes well. But again, you're kind of competing with Oliver.
Yep.
As sort of in that, obviously that same game, you can't go both ways.
Yeah. You'd think obviously there's going to be some sort of correlation there because if Gawn plays well, then Oliver's going to play well because he's obviously tapping the ball down to Oliver. So it's probably much for a muchness more than anything. And yeah, I think in terms of matchups, like I was saying earlier, we should score pretty well against the Blues. And like you can see there historically, he does very well. So both of those guys just flip a coin potentially. But to round out the captaincy options, we have track in Christian Petrarca. And he's averaged 104.75 in his last 4 games against the Blues with scores of 101, 126, 103 and 89. But his scores since round 16, probably should mention his recent form line. They read 189, 91, 141, 81, 134 and 136. So he's a little bit up and down, but it goes to show there his ceiling, his potential to score super high when he's in full flight is really nice. So you got to sort of factor that in when it comes to captaincy scores. And he puts his name just straight up in the air, like as an option. But
I like him as a bit of a Hail Mary.
Yep.
Like
Something
if
like a
you're-
point of difference, yeah?
Yeah, if you're a bit down, like if you're not looking, if you're in the prelims, you're looking like you're going to lose. I don't mind chucking the captaincy on him just as a bit of a, just see what happens kind of thing. Because if he goes massive with a 189 like he did, a few rounds ago, or something, even a 160, like that could really get you back in the game. So I don't mind it. It's sort of that high risk, high reward sort of captaincy play. So I'd only do it if you were a bit down, if you really were looking like you were going to lose, and you just need something just to break it up.
Yeah, especially like if they're going for an Oliver and you're 100 points down or something, or 50 points down, looks like you're going to lose, then yeah, totally. Like just swing something that's a bit different to what your opponent's doing, and hopefully, fingers crossed, he outscores an Oliver or a Gawn if they put the captaincy on Gawn, or whatever. So the same can probably be said for Doherty to an extent as well, but doesn't have that recent form line so much. He scored well on the weekend, but in his sense, it's that opponent exploitation matchup. But keep that in mind as to sort of alternative options there. But honourable mentions, Liam. Who have we got first up?
First up, we've got Tim English playing GWS on Saturday at 2:10. Again, plays again at the same time as Laird, so it's the risky option. But he has an average of 97.25 in his last 4 against the Giants with scores of 110, 76, 120 and 83. But just on your side, GWS actually give away the second most points to opposition ruckman. So could be, something just to factor in there as well.
Yep. Like it. Bit of a potty one. And also we have Jordan Dawson who faces North on Saturday at 2:10 p.m. Again, it's that really that hard, tough time slot, I think. You'd be, a lot of people would be going for Laird as the VC there, you'd think. But as a point of difference, Jordan Dawson is one you could look at. He scored 134 against North, like we mentioned earlier in the episode, when he played them earlier in the year.
No, certainly. And last up, from that game with 4 options, we're going to add another one, and that is Sammy Walsh, obviously playing Melbourne on Saturday at 7:25. Now, his last 3 scores against Melbourne read 111, 98 and 86 for an average of 95.3. But just to note, Walsh scored 128 in round 5 when Cripps missed. So just factoring in the fact that I guess Cripps potentially won't be playing. Walsh could have a bit more of a, the lion's share, but it would be also facing up against, Oliver and Petrarca in the midfield. So equally could lose some points as well.
Yep. But absolutely. And without Hewitt there, as we sort of ran through last week, Cripps was sort of historically shown as being the most of benefit. But now, with both of those guys gone, there's obviously more points to go around. So you'd think to be a boost for the likes of him, Chera. But it's going to be tough because that's obviously relying upon them putting in a solid showing against a quality midfield that Melbourne have. But let's move on to our selections. And Liam, who are you going with? I imagine it's very similar to mine.
I think I'm going to go Lockie Neal into... I don't know who else I've got. Sam Doherty. No.
There's a bit of point of difference.
Yeah, as a complete point of difference. No, Rory Laird most certainly as the VC. And you know what? I'm going to captain Akui because Laird is going to pump out a massive 143.
Yep, that's his 3-round average. So he'd be on the money right there.
Yep, that's it. That's what's going to happen.
I like it. And I'm doing very much the same, except the C isn't going on Akui for me. It's going on potentially Paddy Cripps.
Oh, yeah, that's actually not a bad way of doing it.
Is that going to confuse you a bit?
I
could put it on anyone that's non-playing. But hopefully Lairdy, the big old square blockhead dude, super block, Superman, he's going to come out and punch out a massive score. So looking forward to that. But Liam.
Okay. Otherwise, it's going to be Oliver. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, that's probably should mention there. Yeah, Oliver.
Yeah, in case anyone else is wanting to know.
Yeah, they're like, who? And what are they saying? If they want to know, Liam, they usually say.
What are they saying? What are they saying?
I got to know.
Hey, I got to know.
Oh, I like that. Nice, like came from deep.
It was very, very deep, very guttural. Yes,
yeah.
it was.
Yeah, that's the word, guttural. Very love that.
Yeah.
Love that. I'm going to throw this question to you, Damon. We've got one question from a big fan, Maddie Tex.
Yes, thanks for tuning in.
At Tex Maddie on Twitter. Thank you for tuning in, Maddie. His question is, hey guys, would love to get your thoughts on the following. So he's got two options here, Damon. Option one is trade SDK to Jordan Clark, who plays West Coast this week, and keep the last trade in case he gets to the grand final and need one. Or his second option is use both trades to get SDK straight up to Jordan Dawson. Cheers.
Interesting. Clark first up. I'm not so much a fan of him. Like, credit to him, he's actually punching out some really nice scores from time to time, but limited ceiling. Just looking at those games where he scored a ton. He scored 105, 102, 108, 108, 106, 100. So it looks like his ceiling is very, very limited. A lot of his scores are actually hovering around about the 80, 90 mark. So he's very consistent. I'll give him that, apart from a couple of scores in the past month where he scored a 62 and 66. So, yeah, I guess when you're talking about consistency, at least he's going to give you that. But probably should mention that in terms of the Eagles, they aren't really quite the easy beats they once were, and not many teams exploit them running out of defense in recent times to really make, the matchup as juicy as it could be, like you mentioned, because he is facing the Eagles as sort of a deciding factor to bring him in. I probably should mention as well that an alternative option to Clark, not one that I'd highly recommend, but one to have a look into if you wanted to spend around about the same mark, is Houston, who is 10.3K more expensive at 463.6K as a defensive midfielder. But in all honesty, I think it doesn't really scream super option, given his scoring is not really that reliable. He's probably got more of a ceiling at a glance compared to Clark. But yes, his consistency has been very up and down. So probably a bit more of a risk. But having said all that, I think, like you mentioned, as your option two, I would probably use both trades to go SDK to Dawson. It's a really, really good super option. And with just 2 weeks remaining, there probably isn't much of a use saving a second trade, given you need to win your prelim this week in order to obviously make the grand final. So maximize potential points this week, just in case, and don't it's more playing safe as opposed to keep one up your sleeve and thinking, I'll get through to the grand final, because you'd be kicking yourself if you think that you may need to use the trade in the last week if you don't even make it. So I think hedge your bets, bring in Dawson. There's 2 weeks to go, a week after this weekend. And if Dawson goes down, it is what it is, unfortunately. And I'd be willing to take that risk. It's literally just 1 week. I mean, we are virtually taking a risk. When you went under trades, Liam, it was what, a month ago?
It feels like it was about 17 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. So we've been riding by the seat of our pants, or more so you than me, for a few weeks now, and crossing our fingers that there haven't been any real major damage in terms of injuries or suspensions, which we're feeling now with obviously Cripps and the like. But I mean, I always go by the mindset now this season compared to especially previous seasons, where it's like, it's good to be cautious to an extent, but there's no use trying to, I guess, hold trades or upgrading your bench on the off chance that there's an injury. There's 1 week to go. I'd be willing to take the risk because you're getting in a quality player in Dawson. So and again, he's DPP as well, which is good with Dawson. So if you do have an existing swing in your midfield, assuming that you're getting obviously Dawson into your fence, it will help you out doubly so there and give you more bang for your buck. So, for me, SDK to Dawson, 2 thumbs up. What about yourself, Liam?
Yes, I'm just going to do some real quick maths. Let's say 3-round average for Clark is 90.7.
Yep.
Sorry, I need to write this down. 90.7.
I'll have a look if you like as well.
Thank you. If you can check Dawson. And then DeConning.
Dawson 3-round average is 109.
Yep. So you're missing out on basically 19 points there.
Yep.
And then Sam. De Koning, his 3-round average is 68.7. So you're definitely making points with Clark.
Yep.
But that being said, I think looking at the Eagles, the matchup for the Eagles isn't quite the same as it was in the first. As you said, they aren't the easy beats. So that's one thing to consider. And I think a lot of the stats that sort of suggest they are sort of skewed by those first month, 2 months of the season. So it's not quite, it's hard to look at the stats. Like you kind of have to put the context behind them as well and look more so probably in the last month or so as to how they've been playing month and a half to see that it's probably not quite the same.
Yep.
So basically what I'm trying to say here is 90.7 versus 109. I know it's a 3-round average, so it's, it's hard to use that. But think about the points. So you're going to miss out on 40 points potentially by just using the one trade. And then I don't know how much cash you have in the bank with the SDK after, with your last trade, but you don't really want to hold that for the last round of the season. So I'd almost rather go straight up from SDK to Dawson, as you said. I think it just makes more sense. At the end of the day, you don't want to miss out this week because you don't want to lose this week and then hold a trade that could have got you through. So I'd rather go all out and then see what happens, because at the end of the day, you might not get an injury next week and it doesn't make a difference.
Yep.
And then you've missed out on potentially getting Dawson in.
Yep, exactly. And it's like, you saved a trade that you may not even need to use, and you're just using it because you just got a spare trade.
Yeah, exactly. In which case, if you do just have a spare trade, you can just send it my way, please. I'll quite happily put it to use.
You'll be grabbing it with both hands and
Certainly.
Kissing it and everything else and cherishing it.
So I guess in summary, option 2 is probably the best way to go.
Very good, very detailed, and I hope that helps you out, Maddie Tex. But let's move on to the last segment just to round it out, and it is the group rankings and SuperCoach Edge Cash League finals at the moment. And let's have a quick look at our SuperCoach Edge group rankings, meanwhile. So the highest scorer for round 21 was Luke with his team Cultivating Mass. Score is 2,641, so massive score. Round rank of 326, and overall rank would have skyrocketed up off the back of that score. He is now ranked overall 3,514th. So there we go. But what about the overall highest scorer, Liam? I'll leave this one to you.
For 4 weeks in a row, it is Tyler with his team Shep Screamers.
Well done.
He maintains top spot. Can he do it for the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, he's got
overall score of 344 is his points, and his overall rank is 16th.
Wow. Well
John's team, Markle Sparkle, is closing in though. He's gained 25 points on him this week for a margin of just 102 points. So, Damon, can you get your trusty little calculator out and tell us how many points that John's Markle Sparkle has to make?
I imagine it's very similar to what you have to make, Liam?
Yeah, probably like 500.
Our matchup? No, what he needs to make up in the next 2 weeks is at least outscore him on average across the 2 weeks, of course, by 51 points. So he could potentially make up that difference in 1 week. Potentially, it's only 102 points. If he has an absolute blinder, he can make it up. So it's going to be a very, very tight finish. Love a bit of competition. So
I love it. Love it.
Very, very good.
Now I'm gonna break tradition. I'm not going to read out the code this week because I feel like
that's it.
Yeah, that's it. I'm calling it. It now. If you haven't joined by now, too bad.
Yep.
And anyway, let's go through a quick run through of the SuperCoach Edge group, and I'm going to read through the SuperCoach the top the real finals, the fake ones, and then you can read through the participation plate or the consolation cup.
We'll do a switcheroo
because we're in the opposite ends. Anyway, quickly running in through this, it's our tier 3 Patreons. Bruce with his team Shuin defeated yourself, Damon of DJ Trade a Lot in the qualifying final, with Bruce through to the granny and having another week off. In the other semi-final, Brett with his team Sharpshooters beat Scott Arthur with his team Black on White, knocking him out of finals contention. So that leaves you, Damon, and team the Sharpshooters to face off in the prelim this week. Going to be a big matchup.
It's going to be very,
Big
very
matchup.
hotly.
Need you
hotly
to get
contested.
there. Need you to get into the finals.
Yeah, got to represent represent the SuperCoach Edge brand. It can't be knocked out. Surely one of us is going to
No,
contest in the
come
grand
on.
final. But yeah, well done.
Hey, I'm contesting in a grand final. Just
you are. Well, yeah, you are. You are.
opposite end. Anyway,
Yeah, opposite end. Yeah, it's a grand final. Is it really a grand final? But
Hey.
probably should mention just so it's going to be obviously prime time both of our game between Brett and myself. And looking at projections doesn't really matter. I haven't really looked too closely into it, except for just having a look at the little I guess what do they call it? A little table. And I'm projected for 2,485. He's 2,393, but with no doubt there's going to be changes afoot, not on my end because I've got no trades. So if he has any trades left, he can, go all out if he wants to. So it's going to be a very close game. So let's see how we go. But Liam, let's talk about how you're going. And of course, we mentioned it last week that there's high stakes for this because
There
you
is.
you earned yourself.
Stars are aligning here.
Yes. Wait, did you earn yourself a week off?
I did.
You did. So yeah, you did have the
Second
week
week in a
off.
row.
You earned you earned the week off when you qualified for the lower finals by missing it, as it works out in terms of head to head when you're in a 10-man league.
Yeah.
So you faced off against Jacqueline.
Yeah.
And of course you did book a place in the grand final and the other week off this week. So the one matchup that we have is Pete with his team Tankman 77. He's beaten Kyle of Northwind
Yeah.
for a place in the prelims against Jacqueline's team. So, Liam, we know what's going to happen here. You're going to be facing off against our future father-in-law.
Yeah. Next week. Well, not this coming week. The week after is going to be
Yep.
a
High
big
stakes.
weekend.
That's
I
going to
reckon-
be the talk of the week because don't worry about the fact that it's my wedding with his daughter, of course. The talk of the day is going to be whispers going around the dance floor, going around the ceremony.
What's
As I'm reading
happening?
up my vows,
Yeah.
I should probably make mention of it actually. It's probably one thing. So high stakes, but as I'm mentioning my vows, I'll hear whispers going like from aisle to aisle. And it's just going to make the rounds. And there's going to be, I imagine sly glances across, the room,
Yeah.
across the dance
Yeah.
floor.
The green glow of our phones, from the SuperCoach app as we try and move players around to to get the edge.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be quite, but we probably should do like score updates. I'll say to the DJ, I'll whisper in the DJ's ear and be like, can you give us like score updates live as to how we're going, like the head to head?
Yeah.
Because you're going to be glancing down at your phone. Just make sure Ash, my better half, doesn't see you do it because she might lose it. Actually, I'll probably do it for you. Surely she can't tell me off. That's what you do on your wedding day, isn't it? Just glance down at your phone.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what you're meant to be doing.
Yeah.
But I will say, Peter with his with Tankman 77, he has been in some good form in recent weeks. So it's going to be. I feel like he's like the form player of the league.
He is probably more so than even the top. Like I reckon he's right up there with the best in the biz at the moment in Bruce with his team shoe in.
Like, he's won a fair few games in a row.
He has, yeah.
I don't know if I can still view it, but let's see. So he beat Shuin in
that's
round
right,
18.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Beat you. Almost beat me. Had Houston not gone down. Remember that?
Yeah. And then, defeated Shuin in round 18. So he's in some great form.
Yeah, he's in very good form.
Yeah, so his last loss was in round 16.
Ripping form. Actually, round 19 against me.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
Sorry,
I forgot
Pete.
about that one. You ruined his little run there.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, there you go. So looking forward to that. And that is, of course, in the Consolation Cup. That's what we're going with. Or participation plate, whichever way you want to look at it. Bit of alliteration there. See how we go. But for those of you keen to throw questions our way via our socials or alternatively follow us to keep up to date with the latest news and information, you can do so via...
Yes, YouTube. If you want to watch us, just search SuperCoach Edge and don't forget to like and subscribe. Obviously, if you're already watching us, you know that. So just if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can watch us too if you like.
Yeah.
Very nice on the big screen from what I've heard. On Twitter, if you search SuperCoach_Edge, you'll find us there. Damon at DamonJ88, myself at Liam Evans _95, Facebook, Insta, and TikTok. Search SuperCoach Edge, and you'll find us there.
Yes. Well, there we have it. That is the end of another episode, and
Yes.
the end of the season is approaching, Liam. And we're probably both looking forward to it. I'm just hopeful that I can at least... probably should mention as well, I haven't mentioned, I am in... It's 4 out of 5 Cash League prelims.
Nice.
Got knocked out in 1 on the weekend in the semi-final, so what will be. But I'm in 4, and hopeful that I can progress through to the grand final, so I at least have something to play for. But we know we both have something to play for, Liam. You've got something to play for potentially... Not this week, but next week. So look forward to that. And enjoy your week off, must be said as well. And put in a bit of strategizing and get out your whiteboard and start connecting the dots, all that sort of stuff, just to see how you can defeat Pete.
Maybe I should maybe I really should put the VC on Doherty and the C on, I don't know, someone completely random, just to throw him off. He's not on his game. He doesn't know who to VC and C. He's just throwing around.
Yeah, bit of lull him into a false sense of security.
Yeah.
I like that.
Now that he's heard this.
Now that that's what I was about to say. Well, I'm banking that he's probably going to be hearing this right now, and it's not going to work now.
No.
So now do the opposite.
Yeah. Oh, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to zag. I'm going to trade no one because I have no trades. Or do I? Has this been the biggest joke the whole time?
Exactly. Maybe he has one up his sleeve. Imagine that. What a plot twist that is. But all the very best anyway for the weekend, for those of you in prelims, and for those, of course, of you like JP gunning, or at least trying to hold their claim to the Iron Throne. So all the very best, and congratulations again. And we'll be back again this time, same time, next week, to do it all again. All the best.
Good luck, guys.